Lovely to be speaking to you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
watched the movie very, very recently. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. And I,
Oh, super.
I just felt like a story like that really needed to be told and told by a woman as well. How did you come across that story, and what made you want to tell it?
I can't tell you what made me want to tell it because it was like an out of body experience. I got a cold call from Joe Duran, and my mind flickered back to 1992 when my country was riveted to the television, knowing that one of our own was had been sniped during the siege of Sarajevo. So
Mm.
everything I knew about Margaret must have been from that report. And I jumped at it and made all these crazy promises that I could find the money. And then I was like, oh my God, Lucy, you've never done this before. Why are you promising that? But already I was in too deep. There was no backing out. And I just died into the decision to make it. Like Margaret was propelling me forward.
Yeah. Had you heard of her before that? Before that happened to her?
No, I only knew about that, about when she was injured badly in
Yeah.
1992. But there's something called me. I've never felt sort of metaphysical about such things before, but I can't explain it any other way. I've never wanted to direct, and suddenly she owned me from that moment.
I just think the story itself is so thrilling that I could easily see it as a sort of a dramatized version of it.
Yes.
Were you ever tempted to go that way with it?
Yeah, we did think about it, but to be honest, at that time it was not the most exciting art form to me. I've done it forever. Also, it would have taken a lot of time and money. You have to find the writer, you have to shape the story. We'd still be in pre-production now. And COVID was bearing down on us. So I felt terrified that all the people who were holding the information, their memories of Margaret, could die. And in fact, some of them have since then. So I rushed off and started interviewing them willy-nilly, thinking I might never get funding. And then I joined with GFC in New Zealand, and the New Zealand Film Commission came on board because Margaret is one of our taonga, which means one of our national treasures. Um, and here we are. I don't know how this happened, but it's changed my life. Now all I want to do is direct.
It's just such a wonderful film, really. I, you have quite a few like talking heads on it, like from Christiane Amanpour that everyone knows, and look quite like really well-known war journalists, war reporters. How did it come about speaking to them, and did they accept straight away? Were they really like dying to tell her story?
Well, Christiane said yes pretty much right away. That was I got to her through Joe Duran, who was also a CNN cameraman. So he brokered that. He put me on to the CNN people. And then it was a matter of who will and who would be good talent. Uh, and I found the most human, the best storytellers were the ones who ended up on screen. There were some other wonderful people, but their stories didn't quite fit. They were too long, or it's an unfortunate thing that you have to lose some really good people and some really good stories to tell a cogent, to make a cogent shape. A film has to have a certain shape, otherwise the audience is going, "Wait, who? What? Who's this?" Another person. You got to keep it tight.
Many people see you as, I mean, having played Xena in the past, and like, you're often compared to sort of the mo most sort of the strongest women out there. Did you ever see yourself in her at all, as as a woman in that kind of arena, or have you ever thought of maybe playing her if a film about her life was made now?
No, no, no. Um, I possibly direct or produce it, but I don't know. I'm just my life is this has changed my life. It's changed the focus of my art as well, and now that I've learned the aspects of filmmaking that I wasn't so involved in before, that is the sound editing, the music, the working within budgetary constraints to which forces style, all these kinds of things, archive. Now I want to apply what I've learned to what I've known forever, which is drama and working with actors. I'm super excited to meld these bodies of knowledge and make something that's equally entertaining and thought-provoking.
Have you become a bit of a film nerd in the process of doing this?
Kind of, yeah. I've realized what it's for, and realized how to. I suppose what I've learned through this is about the lean-in factor, about how you must never let the audience look at their watch, and so anyway, I'm looking forward to doing that in another in a dramatic form.
I think what's beautiful about your movie, and if don't mind me just keep saying it, is that generally when we think about documentaries, sometimes as personally as a film critic, I have to sort of see there are some really extraordinary documentaries, but there are some that are a little bit of a slog. I think the difference between with yours is that it's just you cannot wait to find out what happens to this woman, and I think the dramatization of that is really important. How did you go about
Right.
creating that kind of tension?
Yeah, I realized that it's like an old-fashioned roller coaster. You've got to keep people in the or a shopping cart. The minute you give them something to think about off the track, you've lost them. You've got to keep them in the shopping cart by keeping it impelling the story forward at all times. And every sound, every image should be advancing the curiosity, where they go, wait a minute, what he just said didn't match up with that. So who's telling the truth? So you're always judging whether you think this person is a reliable narrator. So you've got them slightly at cross purposes, and that's part of the engagement for the audience. And also don't spoon feed them. Leave holes in the narrative, because they will rush in to fill it with their own experience. So person A and person B can sit next to each other and be in the same family, but have completely different opinions about who Margaret was, or who was telling the truth out of her lovers or the family,
Yeah, I picked up on the lovers where I think that narrative is quite amusing in some ways as
Yeah.
well. Uh, trying to work out. I mean, they're both sort of vying for her for sort of attention.
Primacy, the
Yeah,
primacy of who's
yeah,
the best, who's the top lover. Yeah.
yeah. That was interesting. I think when you discovered that, were you like really happy that you'd got that side of her?
Oh, there was so much more to it. So much more to it. But also, I'm not sure who was telling the full truth, because, the family are accusing this one of being a drug addict, which he was, but Margaret fully knew, and she was part of that scene, and they didn't know that. And Margaret kept everybody siloed off from one another. So I'm not sure that anybody knew the full truth, because wasn't inclined to explain herself. Maybe Joe, but Joe didn't tell the full truth on camera. So which was good. It left me with a much more of a mystery to solve. Who the hell is this crazy woman?
Can we, I mean, now you've directed this, can we sort of see more film, see you behind camera, more films, or
Yes, please. I'd love. Yes,
yeah, okay.
that's my that's what I'm focused on at the moment. I've still got a TV show that I produce and star in New Zealand that I have to um, make happen next year. But much of my spare time is involved in propelling forward these other scripts that I have that I think are wickedly fun rides for the audience. And I feel like if you can make the audience feel something, you can make them think. I want them to go and argue later. I'm not going to tell them what to think in the film. So it's like strictly non-judgmental. And I think that was that was part of my compact with the ghost of Margaret, that I would adhere to her way of being, which was to be non-judgmental about people and things. The audience gets to make up their mind how they feel about the sex and the drugs and the the young men she's with and the punk music and the conflicts. I don't have to tell you how to feel.
Did you have anyone in mind that you'd love to work with, like a writer or I don't know, actor or actress, or you know?
I sure do. I sure do. But
Do you
I'm
want to share
chasing
with us?
I'm chasing young English actors at the moment, and I'll let you know. I hope that I'll have an exciting announcement in a few months.
Oh, sounds fabulous. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And again, congratulations on this. I genuinely didn't know what to expect at all, and I was just so moved by this extraordinary woman, and I had never heard of
Yeah.
her, bizarrely.
Yeah. She repeatedly faced death to tell the truth. I think that's something that human beings need now. We need to be a little more like Margaret. Maybe not death, but just tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's an extraordinary woman. Thank you
Thank
so,
you for
so
your
much for your
time.
time. Thank you, Lucy. That's really
Okay.
lovely to speak to you. I'm a huge fan
Oh,
of yours.
my.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Cheerio. Bye
Bye.
now.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey,